Hello and welcome back to the self-proclaimed cutest podcast in all of Wraith. Welcome back to the Pitch Perfect podcast. My name is Kiki, and of course I am joined by Elaine.
Hi.
And today we have a couple of special guests. Today we have Robin and Mercy, both of whom have top-aided the Rainbow Pitch League in the past. Keep an eye out, Rainbow Pitch League Season 3 coming out soon. And of course, we have our World's Finalist, Mercy. So, Robin and Mercy, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, please, and thank you.
Sure. So yeah, I've top-aided both Rainbow Pitch League so far, but then got eliminated in the first round both times. So this time I'm planning on making it further than just the top 8. I also top 64 at Pro Tour Amsterdam. I have had some success at a few different events, most recently at the Calling Memphis Limited Calling. I also top 32'd. So I have some success, and yeah, mostly known for Rainbow Pitch League stuff though.
Perfect.
And being a cool person.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Mercy.
And in person. But I'm Mercy. I did top 2 worlds. That's probably the peak of my career.
So far.
In fact, so far, fingers crossed. But before that, I kind of got my start in Pitch League, won the first season. I did not top 8 the second season because the competition was super stiff. And yeah, I've been prepping hard for Pro Tour London. I'm very excited to go. I really like cats, but I think anyone watching this might already know.
Of course, they'd know that if they've seen you in our previous episode with you. And if they haven't, maybe I'll put a link to it at the end of the video. Cool. So here at the Rainbow... Nope. Let's try this again. Here on the Pitch Perfect podcast, we like to play a little bit of Flesh and Blood here and there. So we're going to move on to our first kind of weekly segment, our weeks in Flesh and Blood. Who would like to get us started telling us about their week in Flesh and Blood? Yeah.
You have to just skip me. I don't think I did. I was just thinking I feel like we were recorded 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
No. Maybe? No, I don't think so.
Surely not.
Yeah,
but
I also haven't played Flesh and Blood.
Okay, I guess I'll go. I've played Flesh and
there we
Blood
go.
this
Perfect.
week.
I judged a skirmish. There we go.
Oh, nice. I had an existential crisis when the deck I've been prepping for the Pro Tour completely failed me on Monday.
No.
And then I drafted yesterday, which was much more successful. I've so far have not at least 2-1 to draft of Hunted,
perfect.
so feeling good about that.
I spent all of last weekend grinding drafts. I was co-piloting. So, sorry to the online drafters, you were facing two-headed drafters, but it's really useful for kind of just talking through picks with someone else. So I was grinding a bunch of drafts, trying to get my head around the set. I can't say I've had quite as a successful record as Robin. But the other thing is when you do online drafts, you lose the first game and then all the O1s drop, and then you don't get to play any more games. So you don't really know how your deck would have done. That's a little annoying. But other than that, I've just been grinding away on my deck for London, practicing a lot into a testing group I've been testing with, and team members, and all from the comfort of my computer.
How cozy.
I have actually been pretty much only playing in person because thankfully we locally play draft every Wednesday, and my team came together over the weekend to do a few drafts.
Yeah, that's the ideal situation for sure.
So cute.
Spirit of Flesh and Blood and all.
Mm-hmm.
busy weeks in Flesh and Blood. This is why you two are the ones going to Pro Tour London. So, and yeah, that's kind of what we're here to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. A segue, so smooth.
It was up until that point.
Yeah, well, every time I do it, I'm so impressed with myself. Like, wow, I did it. Anyway, So yeah, we're here to talk about Pro Tour London. You'll both be competing. Good luck, first of all. I am very excited. I know that myself and Kiki will be watching, and I'm sure some of our listeners too, and cheering you both on. So, I guess our first question is just, what does it mean for you to be attending the World Tour in London?
Sure. I'll start off on this one. So this will be my third time on the Pro Tour, which is exciting. The first one for me was LA, which did not break my way. I made day 2, but then instantly dropped after a train wreck draft. And then successfully managed to pilot pretty well in Amsterdam, where going into day 2, I was one of a few X1s, which was really exciting. Unfortunately, never ended up on stream because then I proceeded to do less good on day 2. But for me, this is just like proving to myself that the past events that I did good at weren't a fluke. I guess that's where I'm at with this one, and just like proving that I am actually good at Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, I think that's... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I had a very similar kind of sentiment to Robin. Like, it doesn't really matter how well you do in this game. There's just this creeping sense of imposter syndrome. It feels like every event is, I'm just gonna prove I'm not a fluke. I'm gonna prove I'm not a fluke. So, but we've gotta, I think, like, we have to hopefully get out of that mindset eventually, because we're not flukes. I think that much is clear. But yeah, I think that's a big part of Flesh and Blood, is just trying to like prove to yourself that you can do this, right?
Yeah, I definitely understand imposter syndrome. But I will say I don't think of either of you as flukes. Well, I really don't think of anyone that does well at large events as flukes. I've never had that thought before. So, I mean, it is like a self-internalized thing, but it is something that I think everyone struggles with. But you both are very, very talented players, and I have been way too hype cheering for both of you. Obviously, Mercy, you at Worlds, and Robin. I remember Pro Tour Amsterdam, like the RxPL Discord was just going crazy when you were X1 at the end of day 1. So it's just like, it's so fun. I think a lot of people, including myself, look up to both of you as very, very good pro players.
Yeah.
Just trying to help with your imposter syndrome.
And like both of you are like really bad examples of it, as well as like being flukes, because like you both have consistent results across multiple events. Like
Yeah, literally.
like it's literally in history at this point. Like you're literally a 2-time top 8er at like the Rainbow Pitch League. You went from Rainbow Pitch League to then go on to Worlds. Like I realize I'm looking at you like in the camera, but you can't tell who I'm pointing to, but I'm hoping you know who I'm talking about here. But like it clearly shows that across a span of time, like you have like these high performances already. So like whatever your brain's telling you, like I'm saying that they're wrong. Just, you know.
Thanks. I wish my brain would listen more often. And I feel like maybe for us it's also exacerbated being women in a competitive card game. I definitely think often my opponents might underestimate me, or just like not actually, like if they don't know who I am, not suspect that I have done well at events before.
Yeah. I used to like to take advantage of that at events. I'd kind of just like, it wasn't like super intentional, but I would just sort of like put on sort of like an airhead type of like vibe. And I feel like people would just be like, oh, like when did you start playing? Like, oh, are you new? You know, like, and then just like not be ready. And now I can't do that anymore. It's like the worst when I sit down. My opponent's like, congrats, by the way. And I'm like, gosh, like, I just like, can we go back to anonymity, please?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
But
I think it was during Scott's episode. Scott said, like, we were talking about imposter syndrome, and they said in order to struggle with imposter syndrome, you kind of have to recognize that you are high achieving in the first place, right? Like, you wouldn't be struggling with imposter syndrome if you didn't achieve something really great that you didn't feel like you were worthy of. So, like, just recognize that, like, I'm only here because I have achieved really great things. My brain is only telling me this because I am super capable and have proved that I'm very capable. Yeah. thought it was a good piece of advice.
Beautiful.
This is therapeutic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about like this at like a personal level, I guess, but like on a community level, obviously you're both very powerful women in this game. What does it mean for you to be representing on behalf of like just minorities, I guess, women, gender minorities, etc., in Flesh and Blood and the trading card game space?
I think it's a complicated feeling, right? Like on the one hand, it's great when you do well, you see your community rally behind you. On the other hand, when you don't do well, it can be, and maybe no other like women or gender minorities do well, it can just be depressing, right? Like it's depressing to have to stand for a community, right? There should be enough of this that's not really like how we have to go, how we should feel going into a tournament,
Yeah. And I definitely felt that in my most recent event. When I was day 2 of Memphis going to the draft, I could count on one hand the number of other women that I saw like at the draft tables. And like that felt wrong because it feels like there are so many good like female players in Flesh and Blood that I just wish we had like slightly more representation on like conversion at events. So it is also hard. I think one of the things I struggle with a little bit is there's just feeling of like the trans woman in trading card games being like secretly good, and it's like kind of like something people joke about, but then it also like feels weird that people like target that aspect. I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with this, but there's like that whole meme that the secret to getting good at trading card games is taking estrogen.
Loosely aware of the joke. Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, yeah, I guess the goal is in the long term to kind of not need, I guess, the kind of story narrative driven behind, like, we are minorities in this game and we're succeeding. Ideally, it's just like, in the wrong world, just different people playing this game and enjoying it and succeeding at whatever levels. But, like, realistically, we're not there. Like, there's still a long way for our game and our community to go where it is kind of the norm. Or it's, like, not surprising. But, yeah, like you said, it's tough. But also kind of gratifying. When you do succeed, you know that you had this community of strong people loving everything you do and just being represented, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with that. Words.
Yeah, it is like, yeah, it is really nice. On the other hand, though, like, right, eventually it would be nice if we're just sort of, any other competitor. Like, I feel like a lot of the attention that I received during and after Worlds was due to the fact that I was the only woman in top 8 that year, and it was just like, it would feel a lot better if there were more of us. Like, it's a very like mixed feeling kind of attention. It's the kind of attention that lets you know you are different from most other people in the space, and I think we all know that doesn't always feel great. On the other hand, like it can be a really gratifying thing to like stand out. I think like many of us enjoy attention in that regard. Like, if we didn't enjoy some level of attention, we'd probably be on podcast episode right now. But yeah, it can, it's complex. It comes and goes like anything. It has its ups and downs. But that being said, I am excited for both Robin and I to represent our communities again at London.
For sure.
Like, kind of show everybody that women can succeed in Flesh and Blood like anyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think like there comes with like a weight to it that is good and bad. It's just like when we succeed, it feels really good, but sometimes when we fail, that weight makes it worse.
I know on a personal level, when the game was quite a bit younger, like I had a lot of pressure myself to kind of do well, to kind of grow this kind of platform I had in my head for myself in order to keep on championing sort of minorities and stuff. And if I wouldn't do well, I'd take that kind of personally. And as if as if I would be letting people down, knowing full well that's not actually the case. Like when you look back on it in hindsight, you're not letting them down. You just didn't do well at this tournament, whatever, right? But that kind of feeling of you not performing, not just for yourself, but on behalf of other people, is a scary thought. And like you said, ideally, like we wouldn't need to worry about like, that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, it's a kind of extra pressure that I guess competitors like y'all have going into this event. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I always felt the same way, having this platform and this podcast. Like, in order to have it, I have to do like really well, especially in the early days of this podcast. I'm a scrub now. That's fine with me. That's just how life goes sometimes. I've had other things going on. But yeah, at the early days of this podcast, that is something that I also really struggle with, is like, to be like this creator and to hold like this space in the community, I also have to be like really performing really well at the game. And I was performing well and grinding a lot and putting a lot of work into it. So I just think it's interesting that, like, from me as a podcaster and Kiki in your early days of like having a platform on Twitter, and the two of you of having this like being pro players, like I think it's really interesting to acknowledge that we all kind of share that sentiment, even though we all have taken on different roles at different times in the community. So it's just something that's there. So
Well, let's kind of move on from that and let's get on to the Pro Tour. I believe it's happening this weekend if you're listening to this episode, but next weekend, realistically. We're getting pretty close to it. What does preparing for the Pro Tour look like? Like, you know, like how deep are we going into preparing for this event? You can choose to exclude things if you want, or keep things anonymous, depending on like your team situation. I don't know what that vibe's like. You don't have to tell us about heroes or anything, but you know, like, how do you prepare for such a big event?
Sure. I probably haven't prepared enough for this one, I will say, for my own like satisfaction. The world has kind of gone to shit. And so it like made it really hard to actually get into my like mindset to prep for this event. So I don't think I prepped enough. I've recently picked up a deck that might LL this weekend when I'm on the plane to the event.
Whatever deck could you be talking about?
Yeah, so my teammate who was in the finals of the Team CC event this past weekend, Raven Williams, convinced me that I should be playing Zen because the Aurora matchup is great. And I was like, alright, I'm like pretty resilient to playing a hero that might LL. But like the past few events, Zen didn't top 8, so I was like, oh, this is fine. Like, we're good. I'll make it. And so I started doing it, and I really liked the matchup. And then yeah, so there's like a bunch of people who their mission is to LL Zen this weekend. So I have another deck in my back pocket that I haven't practiced with recently, but it is a deck I'm pretty well known on. And because of that, I'm fine revealing it. That my backup's Azalea, the hero I top 8'd Rainbow Pitch League with, the deck I took to top 64 at Amsterdam. While she hasn't received a card in a long time that meaningfully impacted her, and hopefully High Seas will change that, I think she just like occupies this weird spot in the meta where I could just blow some people out who aren't ready to see Azalea.
Like, people won't necessarily be metagamed for the Azalea kind of deck. So like, you have percentage points in that respect, that like she's a rogue hero at this point, like in this current space and time. So you'll get percentage points there potentially.
A lot of people are cutting Warmongers out of the deck, or out of their decks, so yeah.
That's true.
Opportunity. I think so as legend says, I prepped very little for Worlds Osaka. I didn't really learn my deck until like the week before, or like the immediate week before. I think that had an interesting effect though once I did well. Now I'm like, I've been grinding so hard for like a month at this point, a month or more or something. Part of what helps is like I kind of branched out from just Team Ascent this time around, and a couple of us are in a testing team with a few people from various teams, just because I think we all really enjoy collaborating and like kind of like getting those fresh ideas all together. I've still been playing games and discussing with Ascent, but it's just really useful to have like a coordinated, smaller testing group. Got just a few direct goals. So I've been playing a lot of games with that. We've been working on trying to improve various decks. Not everyone's on the same one, but yeah, I'm playing Aurora, Shock of all shocks, and put him to shock. I'm sorry.
I feel like you were waiting on that. You're like, you came into this episode being like, I know exactly what I'm gonna say when this question comes up.
No. No, the real answer is it's just not the first time I've made that pun, but that doesn't make using it any less gratifying. Yeah, so I've been spending, honestly, I think part of what Robin said, the world's gone to shit, has kind of had a different effect on me, which is that I'm just like burying myself in flesh and blood, which I haven't really done before. I mean, honestly, it has taken a toll sometimes. Like, I will stand up from my computer, where I work remotely from home, so I work from this desk, and then I play 3 or 4 hours of Flesh and Blood games on some night or whatever, and then I stand up and I realize I've been sitting at my computer for like 12 hours. And I'm just like, okay, maybe it's time to go outside.
Like midnight?
So,
At like a 10 p.m. stroll?
No. 10 p.m. strolls are pretty nice. Not at this time, because it's like, it was snowing today and it's really cold out, but generally they can be pretty nice.
Sure.
But yeah, so like, I'm gonna see where this gets me. If little prep got me, here, will lots of prep get me here, or will it get me here? So we're gonna find out. But yeah, I've been trying to like really put some effort in this time around, especially because I'm not planning on going to Pro Tour Singapore, and just put my all into it.
It's really interesting.
A little known fact for my Azalea run at Amsterdam, I actually pivoted back to Azalea the night before. When deck registration was going, I was looking at my box with New and looking at my box with Azalea, and was like, I don't want to play New Mirrors tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then had to re-sleeve my entire Azalea deck.
That's
So
smart.
it wasn't, it wasn't prepped to be played with, so it was like multiple seasons of use sleeves in a box that I brought with me, and I'm like, all right, time to switch.
That was me at Nationals 2 years ago. Whenever the Lexi like meta was, right? I was prepared for Lexi, was playing it for I think like 3 weeks. Only Lexi games. And then I got to the night before Nationals, and literally like 11:55, I'm like, I'm playing Dash. And everyone's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm just playing Dash. It's just gonna happen. And I proceeded to like finish 9th at Nationals. And then, but like sometimes familiarity is kind of nice, Like if you just, no matter like how hard you try to like force something, and no matter how correct it may be, sometimes you just want to have that familiarity in the game. Know that you're going to hopefully enjoy the games, but also know that you have the muscle memory behind it, which is like really useful to have in these long, draining kind of events. But of course, it's also really good to play decks you're not familiar with, even if it's just to kind of learn how those decks function. Give you like the opposite view on the matchups.
I think there is also kind of like an interesting mix that you get sometimes from like making a last minute split second decision that like get this little adrenaline rush. You're like suddenly when you're playing the games, your brain is like on, right? Like it's just there, which can really be a boost sometimes. I think if you get too familiar playing a deck, or at least like preparing yourself to play a deck, like in your situation, Robin, with New, like the lines can start to get really like mushy, and like you're not thinking clearly about every move you're making, and then when you make that last minute switch, you suddenly have to like reorient yourself, and I think that can be really powerful. As long as you're not like switching into like not switching into like, I don't know, Reinar last minute, but even Reinar's been doing well recently, so I can't really dunk on him.
I've lost him the last 3 times I've played against him. I am on Prism, to be fair, but like, still.
Yeah.
You brought up an interesting point, Mercy, about like going into a different mindset this time and like really putting the hours into practice a lot more than you would in the past. Are you concerned about that sort of kind of mushiness you were just describing?
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. I think because I'm staying on Aurora, like, the fact is, if I didn't practice, the lines would be mushy no matter what, probably. Like if I only practice a little bit, right? I think the mushiness happens at a certain point, and if you practice enough, you can kind of then start pushing past it. Or it's more like your mushy lines, your autopilot lines become better over time, right? And I think like nobody can keep their brain on for the entire, like, oh, maybe some people can do it. I can't keep my brain at 100% for the entirety of a long tournament, right? So I think like practice is really important for being able to kind of rely on that like muscle memory, or those autopilot lines when your brain is not at full capacity, right? It's like how piano players play piano. Like it's you have to practice and learn the piece, and once you learn it well enough, you can start improvising and doing different things and kind of like exploring other ways to play.
Yeah.
Do you play piano?
I do not.
Okay.
I have taken piano lessons. It's just I did take piano lessons in college, so that's what I'm thinking of. Like when you're first learning a piece, like you have to mentally be thinking through everything you're doing, and sometimes when you are doing that, like the piece comes out really nice because you're like being really meticulous and careful, and then you hit a point where you're too familiar with it, and it's just like you don't know like how to recover from mistakes.
Yeah.
Right. And I think playing Flesh and Blood can be very similar. Obviously, it's not quite the same as like playing piano.
No, it's almost the same.
Yeah. So like I think there's definitely like a balance to it. I think like if you just make yourself grind like 20 games a night, you're not really gonna get a lot out of that. Like I think like slower games, discussion, all those things like help you kind of like make sure that when you're playing, your brain is on, you're finding the right lines, and then hopefully that all culminates in, a good run at a big tournament.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like the idea of like playing games versus like productive testing. Do y'all have any sort of like strategies in regarding to how you get productive testing rather than just playing games kind of thing?
Yeah, so one of the most important things for me with like productive testing is like actually talking out the lines. So like especially if I'm playing with my teammates, even at like locals, like armories and stuff, sometimes we'll just like play like hands open, like discussing the like variables on different lines, especially like what the other person's perspective is for their like doing that line into their hero, like what happens. So definitely like actually talking out the lines. And then also like one of the most important things in anything is like identifying like mistakes when they happen or like where they went wrong. Like something I try to do a lot after I lose a game is like try to just walk back through the game to like where the point I made the wrong decision was. Like if there wasn't one, maybe it is just card order, but there's almost always the point where like you made a decision that like over time compounded into a mistake. Like most recently at a draft game yesterday, I realized that I made a decision that was like playing not to lose, but instead I just couldn't win because I had made like a certain block. Like if I just didn't play around a react, I win the next turn. But I played around the react, they didn't have it, and then I lost because I couldn't like take cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say like, learning from mistakes is definitely really, really important. And like having multiple people sort of like watching you play and like discussing can be really, really helpful for seeing lines that you wouldn't otherwise, right? And you can kind of all help each other do that. But then I think beyond like discussion and like when you're playing with like 2 or 3 or 4-headed like games, right? You also have to learn to like execute by yourself. And that can involve, right, like playing through the mistakes. You made a mistake on that last turn cycle and you would like to hit the undo button and go back and play it the right way. But the reality is if you always do, you're going to have a harder time recovering in real games where you do make mistakes. So one thing I try to do usually is play through mistakes. Unless it's like so egregious that it's like, okay, the game is over now. Like,
Yeah.
let's go back and see what would have happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like to try to play through mistakes. And then the other kind of, I think one thing that's been really helpful in our testing group has just been like, when we're talking about our results with each other, trying to condense what we learned into just a few key points can be really important. Like, just giving people a play-by-play of how the game went isn't really as helpful as like key takeaways that are like, I noticed that this card was like really impactful. I thought maybe we should bring it in this other matchup, or like, I think this piece of equipment is super important. Like, or this piece of equipment didn't feel good. Let's try this other one.
Mhm.
You know, whatever. And like, because the reality is, when you're a big group like that, like, not everyone's going to be watching. Then when people do read through the results, they have limited attention spans, they have limited time. Like, you want to give them what they need to like start synthesizing more information and like to go off of, not to just like, you know, glaze over it and not really get anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't need to know about your big magical turn where everything kind of came all together in the right order, and like, it's cool, but it's not going to like necessarily help you become a better player. It's not going to give you the information you need. Or that you're going to necessarily take away and then apply that elsewhere. So that makes a lot of sense. Personally, I'm also just a fan of like 3-person games, where there's like 2 people playing and 1 person watching. They can kind of look between both sides, kind of get a feel of how the game's going and kind of advise. Like, I'm a big fan of like 3-person games.
Yeah, if I'm preparing for an event, which I rarely do, but like if I am, playing Flesh and Blood is like, as silly as it sounds, just playing a game is not very helpful for me. Like, I like to have people watching, and even just to say like, someone to point out, like, if I'm just playing and we're not talking, for someone to say like, why'd you do this in this order instead of this order? Like, people see different lines, and then we can just like talk through lines, or if I'm looking at my hand and I'm just kind of like, what do I do with this? Like, you know, like, talk to me about this hand. Like, I totally understand. Playing Flesh and Blood, as silly as it sounds, is not it's not always, just playing isn't always helpful when preparing for an event. So with all the preparation that you both have put in for Pro Tour London, do you have any goals that you want to achieve? Like, what would a successful World Tour experience look like for you?
My probably first measure of success is just make it to day 2. Like, when I'm at the event, my first goal is always just make it to the next day. Like, I would enjoy caching again, just to prove that I could keep doing it consistently. But that just goes back to what we talked about earlier in my own imposter syndrome of like needing to prove to myself that I can be that consistent. The other thing would just be having fun. It's going to be fun to see everyone again, so I'm excited just to be with like the community at this big event.
Yeah. I would say making day 2 and caching would definitely be nice. Making top 8 would be nice. But honestly, I think like my goal right now is just for like anyone in my testing group to do that well, you know? Like, I would love to see us all make day 2, a couple of us make top 8, you know? Because I think that would really validate the effort that I and we have all been putting in, not just for ourselves, but right, to like strengthen everybody in the group and Team Ascent. Like, it's really great to be able to root for people, and not just for yourself. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And I think a very successful Pro Tour would look like, you know, the majority of, if not all, people I've been testing with getting the results.
Yeah. Flesh and Blood is like really nothing without its community. It's just so fun to have people that you know through the game and that you can cheer on and that can honestly cheer on you. Like, support systems are just everything.
They're huge. It's part of the game, right? Like, we play because we like people. We like our friend groups. We like our communities, our groups. And yeah, it is really gratifying. Like, because obviously not everyone can go on to have the winner's spot or like the biggest success at every event. And of course, due to the nature of like the game, sometimes you're not gonna have a great day performing, but like it totally makes sense. And like to get that feeling of joy, happiness, whatever, from your teammates and your friends doing well as well. So makes a whole bunch of sense. The day 2 goal is very practical. It's very achievable, especially for players of your caliber. It's funny because that's also my goal going into like every event, but that's because I'm like perpetually broke and I can't afford to play side events ever. So it's always like I need to day 2 so I have something to do. But no, for sure. Especially because y'all are traveling. Like you're going to like a whole different time zone, continent. Like there's experiences to be had with people that you like, right? So like enjoying the event, not necessarily having the pressure on yourself to win, but like also having people that you care about and want to support doing well whilst you're all enjoying this experience of going elsewhere together. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Although I've seen a weird amount of people being like, I'm not doing any sightseeing in London. I'm not gonna do anything. We're just testing and playing the game.
Oh. My first few days there are all dedicated to sightseeing. Like, I've done this for the past few events I traveled to where I front-loaded the fun activities to, like, let my body adjust to the time zone difference, and also to just, like, give myself some mental space from the game. Like, I don't know if everyone in everything does this, but I find, like, sometimes if you, like, step away from something for, like, a day or two, you come back slightly sharper. Like, so I think my plan when I first land is to just like have some fun. Me and my girlfriend are going together, so we'll travel around, and then once it's time to come together, then we'll play the event.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is a good strategy of just like taking a break, having some fun. I know like the group that I was staying with in Osaka did that. I wasn't a part of it, but I know everyone like
They did it without me, but like
yeah. I wasn't in Japan yet. I didn't get left out. I was invited. But like they went to Universal and stuff. It just made me laugh because I remember U.S. Nationals in Charlotte in like 2022. We had our players meeting, and I was with Michael Hamilton because Hammondtree and Hamilton. We were like sat across from each other, and I was like, yeah, like, how are you doing, Michael? Like, are you ready for the event? How do you feel? And he was like, I don't know. Like, I decided to, like, take a break before the event, and I haven't played Flesh and Blood in, like, a long time, so I'm just feeling really nervous. And that was at a part of my life where I was, like, moving and I was just going through a lot. So, like, I also had not played Flesh and Blood, but I had booked the trip before a bunch of stuff just transpired in my life. So I also hadn't played Flesh and Blood in like 2.5 weeks ahead of the event. So I was like, oh yeah, me too. I did the same thing. So I'm also feeling really nervous and unprepared. And he was like, really? How long of a break did you take? And I was like 2.5 weeks. And he was like, oh, I took 2 days. Or something like that. And I was just like, oh. And then he went on and like won the national championship. It just reminded me when I thought I related to Michael Hamilton for something, and I didn't at all.
And that's why he's a pro player and we're podcast hosts.
It's like those kids in your class that'd be like, oh, I didn't do as well on the test as one. You're like, yeah, I got a C. What'd you get? And they'd be like, an A-. It's like,
yeah. I was just, he was like so shocked when I said like 2.5 weeks. I'll never forget the look on his face being like, you're insane. Like, what do you mean you haven't played in 2.5 weeks? Like, I haven't played in 2 days and I'm panicking. Like, you should be panicking. And I was just, he told me all of that with just the look in his eyes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose. And I did lose and he won. So, a lesson to be learned, I guess.
Michael, you didn't take a break. You took a weekend. Like...
yeah. What works. I don't question Michael Hamilton. Anyway, we have some listener questions to get into. The first few questions come from helenangel.bsky.social. The first question is there anything revealed so far in High Seas that you're looking forward to?
Robin, I think we're going to be in agreement on this one.
Yeah. It's definitely Marlin.
Yeah.
The Ranger? No.
Yeah, like, so, for the longest time I considered myself a wizard player, but everyone actually knows me for playing Ranger. So I've just gonna fully lean into it, and Rangers haven't gotten anything in forever. So, like, getting Ranger stuff in general was exciting. But what do you mean I could load for free when I draw a card? What do you mean I could play New Horizons Death Dealer? Like, I think that she's either gonna be Lexi or unplayable. Like that's it. It's like either she's gonna be Lexi levels of strong, or the card pool is not gonna be good at all, and we're just not gonna stop playing Azalea.
I feel that. That makes a lot of sense. That's kind of the vibe she's giving. Either it's very much like she's going to be broken or trash to atone for Lexi's sins.
Yeah.
Also, Lane's reaction is hilarious.
I'm a Ranger hater. I just am. I'm sorry.
I was editing last week's video and I took a screenshot of Elaine's reaction when I mentioned that I think Marilyn's gonna be good, and she has like the most disappointed, like, what are you talking about kind of face I've ever seen in my life.
Elaine, what do you want from this set? Because you know Gravy Bones is not it. Okay.
You're not on
Gravy. I'm on the gravy boat. I'm captain of the gravy boat.
I'm sorry, I'm in team. I'm never gonna play this hero because I hate the name so much. I know a lot of people love it, but I can't.
I don't know why they didn't add the E. The name would be so much better if it was just Grave with the EY.
Grave.
Because then you would like get the pun. People just don't understand that it's a pun name, like all names
literally
in Flesh and Blood.
every name that I could think of was like a pun, and then somebody's like, what about Lexi? I'm like, oh. Almost every name I could think of is like a pun in Flesh and Blood.
What's Marilyn? Is Marilyn a pun?
Marlin.
It's Marlin.
It's Marlin. Like,
Oh yeah, we were
Marlin.
mispronouncing it
It's
the
a
last
fish.
episode. I noticed when I was editing it and like finding a video, like a picture of it. It's Marlin, like the fish. Yeah.
No, I'm crazy because someone said Marlin to me the other day and I corrected them.
It's because
It's like it's Marilyn.
yeah, on last week's episode I said Marilyn, and then we just ran with it for the whole thing. And I was like, I hope people just think it's like my Kiwi accent, right? Like, surely, like, you know,
No,
here's my deck of cards kind of
Maybe
thing.
I
you know,
just-
like, it's just a Kiwi thing.
I trusted you. I trusted you to the point that I corrected someone.
well, right. The only reason there is this confusion is because Alice loves putting puns in their names. Yeah, blame them.
Anyway, I'll suck it up and say that I hope that the Ranger is really good so that you can all be so happy.
You know what, Elaine? Who do you want to be good?
Actually, I would like Puffin to be good, but
I
also
think Puffin could be cool.
Puffin or Gravy Bone. I'll take either, just not Marlin. Actually, I have like, wait, that's not a Marlin. That's a fish though.
No,
Anyway,
that's like an
Oh, yeah, you're-
angelfish.
like an angelfish. I am a fish girl. It's like- I just am a Ranger hater. I just really am, and it's just that's something that's inside of me that I don't know. Maybe I'll talk to my therapist about it. Why do I hate this class so much?
It's okay. It's okay, because I'm a pirate hater, and this whole set is now apparently dual-class pirate.
It's
Yeah,
okay. You're just gonna look
that's
for all the
pretty
cards that
wild.
don't say pirate on them, but do say Ranger, and then put them in your Azalea deck, and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Unless you really want to do
Yeah.
the New Horizons free reload thing, because that is broken in theory.
Okay.
In theory,
The-
I think we could temper expectations on it a little bit. The biggest thing to remember with like Lexi's degeneracy was she got to turn 1 for 5s and 0 for 4s that were on rate
Yeah.
into go agains. Marlin has to play the bad go again arrows that are below rate and don't have on hits, where Lexi was sending 3 on hits in a turn. Marlin's going to be sending like 1.
Marlin gets to send harpoon.
Yeah. I can't wait to find out what a cannon is. I can't wait for it to be like her weapon is a cannon that just has the text, "This counts as a bow." Because if they don't add that text,
Is her
the
weapon?
game rules needed to be updated.
Is her weapon gonna be like a harpoon?
Well, so the
Or like-
the mechanic Go Fish mentions if you've activated a cannon this turn.
I'm sorry, I forgot Go Fish was the actual name.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so ready to say Go Fish every time.
That is true. When I read it, I had to double take. I'm like, no.
I You know what? I like Reddit. I'm like, this is on par with things a lot. Like, what is this LSS?
We have gravy
What
bones.
is this?
I just want to remind everyone that Elaine thought that High Seas was going to be, like, wanted it to be super serious and not very silly, and now this is where we're at.
Do you play this game?
No, we had this whole episode where I was like, I want the pirates to be like grungy, like have scurvy, dirty, serious, scary pirates. And then by the end of the episode, I was like, never mind. I'm showing up with an eye patch and making jokes and making people walk the plank at events. Never mind. We're here for the memes. I forgot who I was dealing with and I forgot who I was for a second.
I think the most serious set in Flesh and Blood has to be like Outsiders.
Probably.
And other than, yeah, all of the other ones have been like comical.
Heavy Hitters was pretty serious.
Nah, Heavy Hitters was like
Betsy?
adult.
We literally called it horny hitters. Like,
Well, they didn't call that.
Yeah, wait, yeah.
What?
Like half of
I
the set
think-
is
no.
half the set is like
Yeah, we
sex
as a
jokes.
community
You said
decided
they
to
didn't-
make it horny.
I would like to object to that. I would like to say false. There was an interview with Brian Gottlieb around, I don't know, right? There was an interview with Brian Gottlieb and he did talk about it and he was like, yeah, horny hitters, haha, we decided to lean into the like 16 and plus aspect of this game. Like we're all adults, so we made some fun jokes. So
Okay.
objection.
I don't know how I missed the boat on this, but I didn't know any of this.
It's like literally, like beach
Like
heads,
Ball
like
Breaker?
Ball breaker.
Okay.
okay.
So, like,
I
what you need to
guess.
do is you
There
need to
was
go
a few
to
other
Elaine's
ones.
Twitter account from 2024 around Valentine's Day period.
I will not go on Twitter, but I
That's fair.
respect the sentiment.
Well, I'll screenshot some images maybe if I can be bothered, and you can just see how bad it got. Because I was atrocious. And so are other people,
Okay.
but...
Well, that happens every year on my Valentine's Day post.
Yeah, but the
to
Heavy
be
Hitters set
fair.
was pretty bad. Or pretty
The
good,
Heavy
depending
Hitters
on
set
your
was,
point.
yeah, it was out there for sure, and yeah, I mean Heavy Hitters. I won't, we're on camera, so I don't know how much I can say about the Heavy Hitters jokes, but there was a lot. You missed out, I guess.
I'm gonna need some context
Yeah.
after this.
Yeah. I think Dynasty was pretty serious. Dynasty, or like that whole period, like around the whole, like there's nothing too like.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like the sets didn't get silly until like
until
Heavy
Heavy
Hitters.
Hitters, yeah, that was like the silliest. But there was
Well,
puns.
Dynasty also wasn't. It wasn't draftable,
Yeah.
so it was just.
Everfest was kind of silly, I guess. I don't know.
Like the early sets weren't really silly. Like
Aria?
Arya, okay, well maybe Arya got a little silly, but like,
Everfest?
but no, but like like the OG sets, like Welcome to Wraith, Crucible, Arcane, like those weren't silly.
No.
Katsu. His name is
Oh, yeah.
a cutlet.
They named a volcanic wizard Kano.
Okay, we're just a silly company. Well, not we are, but
With Katsu, I think it's like
we like a silly company.
I was gonna say with Katsu, I think it's like a two-edged thing. Like, sure, it's the name of a kind of thing, but like A, it sounds kind of Japanese-ish, which is like Mysteria, and then B, he cuts you, which I thought was the pun.
I did not realize that.
I've never thought about it. Yeah,
And Bravo because he's a shaman.
Yeah.
Dorinthia because that's James White's grandmother. Actually, true.
real silly with that one.
Rhinar. That one is actually true. And then Rhinar, like a rhinoceros, because he's reckless.
KO because KO he knocks you
KO.
out.
I gotta love KO. Armed and
Yeah, that one I did actually love though. To be fair, armed singular one.
I
one
think
arm.
there's still people who want him to get us one-handed specialization weapon that's just his arm.
His other arm.
It doesn't do anything. It's just his
no,
arm.
he.
No, like you hit people with his other arm.
Oh, like you pop.
I don't know if you saw like
Interesting.
Is that how you would hit people with your your arm? if
That's
you-
how I. That's how I.
How do you
Papa.
punch people? I use my other arm that's not attached to me and hit them with it. That's how I punch.
Oh, like he's holding his
Yeah,
arm.
Like wield his severed arm as a
Oh.
club.
Oh, okay. So like, well, I guess yeah. No, maybe like I don't know. Anyway, We have more questions to
We got real derailed on this one.
Yeah.
So,
Both are excited for Marlin.
so what advice would you give to brand new players who are interested in jumping into the competitive scene?
Just do it.
Yeah. Something that I think I've told a lot of new players on that line is like pick a deck that is already succeeding. If you really want to like get good at the game at brand new, like it's a lot easier to get good playing a deck that's already proven good. Like there are a lot of specialists in the game who like will dedicate their life to one hero and then they get very good at them. That is a much slower path to being a competitive player than just being like, take one of the best 5 decks in the format and just learn how to play them. You don't have to stick to them, just learn the game on one of the best heroes. It's like a really like fast way to get better.
Yeah, I think that's a good piece of advice, because even if you end up like not enjoying the meta deck and that doesn't become your deck, at least you have learned a meta deck. Yeah. And so even if you sit down against it, you know what's going on.
It's also going to be way more enjoyable
it's
to like actually win some games, as opposed to like playing a hero that's not good and then losing and being like, how do I make this deck here better? It's like, realistically, now's just not the time for it. I'm not saying it's going to be bad forever, but like, you know, if you're playing like Riptide when he first came out, I'm sorry, like you just can't expect to do very well right. If you're playing Olympia, like I'm sorry. Like, you know, you could play Kasai instead. She's like a better version of what he's trying to do. It is more fun to win some number of games, or at least feel like you have the chance to win. So it makes sense to like, when you get better at the game, you can go back, you know. You can definitely go back, but like, get the fundamentals, get the interest, and the rest will come.
I would agree with everything. I would also say that, like, if you are truly brand new and you're overwhelmed by just the sheer amount of decks you could face, try to think it focuses mostly on gameplay, not on what your opponent's doing. Like, new is really hard in this regard, right? Like, you kind of have to know what your opponent's doing, I think, in order to play her effectively. Like, you have to kind of know what your opponent's deck does and read it really well. But there are other decks, like, I know Fi's not like the most popular in the meta right now, but like Fi really only cares what he's doing. Like, you know, you can mostly just say, no blocks, my turn. Like,
I do, to some degree, think that there's benefit in learning some of the decks that do block. Like, I wish Guardian was in a better spot right now, so I could recommend it, because I think that some of your best Flesh and Blood fundamentals come from playing Guardian. Like, learning how to convert your hand on offense and defense perfectly is like super helpful for learning all of the fundamentals and like learning how to evaluate your armor blocks and stuff like that. That was something that I got really good at when I learned like Bravo for a single event. And right now I would not recommend doing it on like Guardian. Maybe Ira is like the most fundamental block with some cards, send some cards that you could possibly do in the game.
I don't know ways for that.
Florian has rune chants and stuff. That could be confusing.
Yeah, but I think he's the best block/attack deck. Like, I think he's the mid-range deck of the format.
Kasai.
I miss Kasai.
Marlin.
I will... I have never had any success outside of Limited on Warriors.
Well, that's not Warrior's fault. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay, Elaine.
Wait. I didn't
know
know
what?
that was. No, wait. Let me take that back. Wait. That came out wrong.
It's okay. I have a Kasai CNC that I earned, so.
I meant that's LSS's fault. I didn't mean that was your fault. But then as soon as I said it, it's like that sounded like a personal attack.
Welcome to the Bitch Perfect podcast.
First, you get complimented, and then you get torn down.
No.
Also, Elaine shits on your love for Rager.
I was not. Oh,
Okay, Robin,
you kicked me out again.
I will say, Rob, I did take Kasai to top 32 at PTLA, so she had her time. Warriors had their time, and now they don't.
Yeah, they had PTLA, where dual-wielding warrior was the best thing you could have been doing.
Yeah,
This is why these two are pro players and we're podcasters.
Yeah. I definitely meant like that's not Warrior's fault in the sense that like Warrior's just not in the meta yet because LSS hasn't given it the help it needs in the meta. I did not mean to.
It's okay.
So, on the topic of newer players trying to get into the game and trying to get competitive, let's take it a step lower. Is there anything that you think Learn to Play should be covering that it isn't already?
Yeah, so I haven't looked at the most recent Learn to Play stuff since they introduced getting Learn to Play certified. It's something I should probably do eventually. But I definitely think like what I've seen the most from recent new players, especially with like Hunted Limited, is like understanding of the reaction window and like what a chain link is versus like what the chain and versus a chain link versus a reaction, like how all that actually works. So that's probably not something you could do at a first Learn to Play. And maybe the answer is like tiers, like a Learn to Play like 102 after a 101 kind of thing.
I really don't know what Learn to Play materials look like. Because my Learn to Play was my partner. So I that well, actually one thing that has changed recently that I think even experienced players are struggling with, and I don't know how they're kind of like presenting it in the new materials, is the change from resolution step link step to damage step resolution step, which has like functionally changed how certain cards work. And is probably gonna confuse some people at the Pro Tour. That's definitely like, I don't know, it can be a little fuzzy how some of these interactions work, especially with cards like Electromagnetic Somersault, right? And like people are always like, oh, play path well traveled on my opponent's card, not go again. Like it can be hard to like steps. They're a very nebulous thing until you sit down and like try to understand the rules.
Yeah, definitely like actual priority windows is probably the most complicated part of Flesh and Blood. This tends to be the most complicated part of any card game that has priority windows. And like one of the ways when I was like first learning the game that like a judge told me I was probably ready to be judge certified was because I was playing Icelander. And so I did know my priority windows because you needed to know them for Icelander. But yeah, that recent change to like the resolution link step is like a pretty big one that like changed how the game interacts, and just that is like a 300 level class though. Like actually learning the priority windows is super hard. And like in the actual Learn to Play, something I'm just thinking back to is like I know that what are the name of the armor, the decks with Terra and Aurora, what was the name of that product? First Strike. I think they need to do another thing like a First Strike deck
Second
soon.
Strike.
Yeah, second. They did lay up the name perfectly. Like there is a pretty good pipeline right now for Aurora, where you go like the First Strike deck into like Blitz into the Armory deck. But I think they need that for more types of heroes than just the go fast aggro deck that Aurora is, and also she's definitely not long for the world with how fast she's gonna probably LL right now. So like being like keeping on top of that, I think in the Learn to Play is pretty important. Like just look at Ira. Ira LL'd in Blitz, so like one of the pathways used to be the Ira welcome decks into Ira and Blitz, and like that gets severed when heroes LL. So like keeping on top of Learn to Play products is probably an important thing too. Just as heroes leave the format.
Agree. If I'm not mistaken, the Gravy Bones Armory deck does also have the Blitz functionality in it, so I guess that's supposed to be the introductory product. I thought you brought up a really good point in the last question about kind of converting your hand in terms of like blocking and attacking and stuff. And that's like as a LGS worker, manager, person who sells cards. One of the things I noticed about newer players is that is the hardest part for them to like kind of grasp at the basic level. Is they'll either overcommit to blocking or they won't block enough without having done the math and like how much damage they can do. And that's like realistically a really difficult but core part of the game is your damage versus block kind of tempo swing kind of thing. So I think they could, I don't know how, but try to put resources into teaching that as like a core part of the game at the very early entry level thing. And like you mentioned Guardians being good at it, the Terra First Strike deck was fantastic at that. Like it was very much like, here are the cards that block, here are the cards that attack, here are the cards that prevent damage, so on and so forth. And you need to try to do this math because you're only attacking once each turn with that deck. Whereas the Aurora deck was kind of the opposite, where it's just like, you are never blocking, you are throwing your hand every turn.
Your cards
Yeah, literally we're
zero block.
we're giving you Fry.
Fry literally says 0 block.
Exactly, right? I don't think it just says 0 block, I think it just has no block, right? Like it just...
No,
Oh,
it's a
zero
zero.
block?
No,
Okay.
no, it says
Okay,
0.
no, it's a
It
zero.
says
Block with
0,
it.
yeah.
That's right.
You can. Yeah.
You don't know why you would unless you're like trying to be tricky.
Just to make it worse into cards like Pulse Wave.
Yeah. Or better into
right.
Heralds, because you can block with a Fry and then pump it to 3. I'll pump it to 6.
You're right.
There we go.
Yeah,
Broken the
sure,
format. You should play Fry and Aurora.
It's a really good card. You heard it
Yeah,
here
it
first.
blocks for 0.
All right. We have some more listener questions we can try and get through. And the next question's from optimistcg.bsky.social. And the first question is, do you have any underpowered or underplayed but much beloved pet decks or heroes?
I'm gonna hijack this question real quick to plug something that me and Optimus did together, and then I'll answer.
Okay.
So, I have these trans Mark Arachne tokens that Optimus drew in collaboration, and I will be giving these out at Pro Tour London. So if you find me at the event, I will give you one of these. And they are very good, and on the back, they have a link to resources.
Robin, are you gonna have enough?
I have like 100.
There's a lot of people in my local Discord that have been like, how can I get this? Like, so, you know, might be
Okay.
seeing if you have any extra.
If
Kind of
If you want to ship one to New Zealand as well, or like a couple, you can.
you have any locals that will be there, I'll hand one off.
True. Maybe.
If this is a popular enough thing, we're probably going to do another print run of the
Okay.
token.
You know what? I'm going to New Zealand in May, so
True.
give me an extra for Kiki. I'll drop it somewhere in New Zealand, Kiki. That's still closer. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna see you, but like,
I literally work at
I'll
a
drop
game
it
store.
somewhere.
Surely you can stop by at some point.
True.
Okay. Back to the actual question that was asked. I don't have a lot of pet decks. I'm a pretty competitive player, and so playing decks that don't win tends to like take some of my joy out of the game. Some of the ones that I've really tried to make work were when I was playing Blitz, I wanted to make Ice Lexi work in Blitz. The problem with that deck in Blitz is you don't have any life or armor because you're a ranger, and so like the second you lose tempo, you die. So like if you just kept tempo the whole game, you'd win by sending dominated like ice arrows that have like frostbite on hits. But then you would not take you would like either draw no arrows or they would just successfully block out your attack, and you'd be like, oh, I'm a very frail character and I just die. And then my other one is a maybe controversial take that I think it's a pet deck is Verdance. I have not had success with Verdance at all. I know people are doing good with her right now, but every time I try it, I face a new and they strip every combo card out of my deck in like 3 turns, and then I'm like, why did I bring this deck this week?
Yeah.
That is Verdance's fault. I'll say that. All right.
You're so sassy tonight.
I still want Kasai to be good. I'm still waiting for Kasai to be good again.
Like,
I like tried to see if she was playable in this meta. And, like, maybe she is, but I just, I was like, you know what? It's not the time, Kasai. And then the other, I don't know if I want this one to be powered up because I think it would be really boring. But I love the stupid cash out combo decks. Like,
Well,
I
they
think
got a
so-
free cash out.
cash out.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, cash in.
No,
Yeah,
cash in.
is done
Cash
to
in.
spend, right?
The other one, yeah, the
one
one
that
that
is legal?
makes silver for all your talismans
Yeah.
and like amulets that you have up. Like I know someone was playing like Aurora cash out at what event was it recently,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
they killed Michael Fang, which is pretty funny. And then the one that I like though is the Enigma 10K. Or not 10K, 3 visits Enigma with cash out. 3 visits says has power for however many blues you pitch that turn. The idea being that you make a bunch of silver and then you wait until you draw 3 visits, or like 2 of them, and then you break every single silver with all the blues, and then you have 1 billion blues in your pitch, and then your 3 visits just attack for like 30 or 40 damage.
You just really like those big old combo wombos. Yeah.
I just think it's really funny because like you're just doing the like lamest thing ever, which is just playing amulets and talismans out like the whole game and trying to like live, and then you just like wombo combo your opponent. I'm not usually like that much of a combo lover, you know, like I never got into Kano. The combo side of Aurora isn't like my favorite thing in the world, although it feels when it blends up. But this one just feels special.
If you want to do the 3 visits thing, I got the perfect setup for you. It's a UPF game. We've mapped this out because we play UPF in December locally. I play Squizzy. My version of Squizzy is just purely I can't win other than by fatigue. I have all the count your blessings. I have every card that says gain a life. All 3 blocks.
Sun-Kiss Moonwish?
I don't have Sun-Kiss Moonwish, but that's because like almost everything in my deck gains life or blocks well. And you play Silver Palms, and then you just let people hit you till you're below. You just like let the game play out. Give everyone cards and resources. They take cracked baubles, they take cards. And you play the deathmatch arena. That way, when someone kills someone else, they get gold equal to the number of starting players. So you get the Enigma to kill someone, they get a bunch of gold stacked up, and then you do your 3 visits line.
Oh, wow. Oh.
UPF is a wildly different game. It's just a different game.
That sounds really fun, though.
For sure.
I would like to see some like for fun matches at the Pro Tour that are just like 4 incredibly competitive players playing UPF.
I would love that.
It's
Let's
very
make that
funny.
happen.
Since you could play all the colors of CYB in UPF and Blitz, you can get above like CC hero life totals. I was at like 50-something life at one point.
Oh.
Because when you generate the gold from people taking cracked baubles or silver from silver pumps, my deck didn't do anything other than hitch into them to draw the CYBs as fast as possible. So I just turboed through my deck to just count all the blessings right away.
Oh.
This game did take over an hour to finish. It was not fun for everyone at the table.
Well, it makes me really glad that UPF isn't a tournament format for the most. And speaking of non-tournament things, what are you most looking forward to about visiting London?
Non-tournament related.
Non-tournament related.
High tea. High tea. I love tea so much. I was so excited when I saw that Sync Flow from. I will not stand for anybody dunking on it.
Okay, I won't.
I'm sorry. I promise this isn't planned.
I think that one was planned.
It was not. I promise.
No, that one felt too opportune. I feel like that one wasn't planned.
Yeah. Anyway, but so the like, I actually have to work for some days from London. I'm leaving tomorrow, but then I'm working like Monday through Wednesday next week. So I'm like not doing all that much. But the one thing that I like really want to do is do a fancy high tea. So me and my partner Brian do that. And you know what else is there to do in London but drink tea and eat?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
If you take
I will.
pictures.
Oh, I will.
I'll also be doing
Yeah.
a high tea.
Maybe we'll be at high tea at the same time.
I don't know. My girlfriend did all the scheduling,
Oh man.
so we'll find out. So there's definitely that, and then I'm doing the London Eye, which we hopefully have planned it out that we're gonna get on, and when we're at the very top should be sunset, so that will be super fun and a good
Cute.
photo op.
But I love that. Is there a players banquet? The players banquet should be high tea.
They don't really do.
I think they killed the players'
Yeah.
banquet after LA.
Yeah.
I thought
they-
so. Maybe
they
they should
killed
bring it
them.
back just for high tea.
Yeah, for this one event.
I
And
do
everyone
think
needs to dress
on
up
Thursday-
Bridgerton, like, you know, like...
Oh, that's
A
so smart.
ball?
Yeah, just...
A Bridgerton
Just
high
like-
tea ball?
I would-
That's so
I would love to see all of the pro players dressed up in Victorian
I will book a
ball
flight
get up.
right now if they add
For
that.
one night, like, it's not flesh and blood, it's fancy-ass bowl. Like,
That was good. That was good.
That was good.
Here, I'll wait.
All right,
Yeah, that would be
okay.
good.
Last set of questions
Howdy.
come from. Go ahead.
Coming from Alex Jakai of Scarletwind, that's deviled eggs with a 3.bsky.social. Howdy everyone, hope y'all are doing well. Since y'all are known in fab teams, hi Crimson Haze and Team Ascent, what's your experience in working with teammates? How does it differ from solo competitors? Any predictions from where the meta is heading? Hope to see you all in Vegas.
So there's a lot there. I was just going to say, me and my teammates on Crimson Haze were very confused when we were mentioned in that question. We saw it on Bluesky before, and we're like, what do you mean that we're known? Because we're like not that well known. We're like a local testing team with like some well-known people, or like some good results. Like my teammate Ian was in Mercy's pod on day 2 of Worlds last year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like so he's done pretty good at stuff. I've done good at stuff. But yeah, so the fact that this person even knew about my team was interesting to me. Ascent is much more of a recognized name, though.
So
Give or take. Might have heard of them once.
Yeah.
I think they follow me on Twitter.
What was the name of the team again? Ascent?
It's like Ascent.
Ascent. Team Ascent.
Like when we
Okay,
walk in
okay.
the room, like
Yeah, but it's just
smell
a
us.
singular one, not multiple, just
You
one.
smell us? You smell. It's just a scent. You all have the same scent.
this is
But
getting
I
way too
love-
silly.
So, what's it like working with teammates that all smell like you?
I think, Robin, you were in the middle of answering this, weren't you?
Yeah, I'll talk to let you laugh for a second as you're dying over there. Some of what, like Mercy hit on some of it before. Like some of the best parts of practicing with like a team and having a testing team is just like getting to watch them succeed. Also, like that will be my day during the Pro Tour. Is being like the few of our teammates that are there will be checking in with each other between rounds. Like that's like some of the best parts of the event as you're going through it, and you find them after a round, and you get to find out how their games are going. And yeah, it's a good motivator. It also just gives you people to play the game with, which is great. Like, just getting to practice like at a draft boot camp with my team was pretty good over the weekend. And like one of our players hasn't drafted as much, so just bringing together like that team knowledge to like get them up to speed is super helpful.
Yeah. I'd say, I kind of answered a lot of this earlier about like working with teammates and just like trying to get everyone pooling their knowledge and help each other succeed. I will say like it has been interesting, kind of like, 'cause I'm in this testing group that's not just people from my team, and then I have my team, and like I haven't done that in the past, and that's like a really interesting like kind of way to go outside of your team too, because I think things can get really inbred when you're just playing with the same people over and over. I'll also say like Ascent is probably a lot more low-key than a lot of people realize. Like a lot of us, several of us live in Colorado, but like even me and my partner who's also on Ascent, like we live in Colorado, but we're like an hour away from like everybody else, so like we don't actually practice in person all that much with and you know, like people tend to like take breaks and prioritize their life more, which is totally fine, but like so just to say that like we all kind of like branch out into our local communities and like their groups, online groups more, so that is like maybe something that's a little different than like what people picture working with a team. I'm sure lots of teams are a lot more going hard all the time, but we're just definitely not. Oh, also I will say I believe Alex is on a team as well. Silver Gambit?
Yeah, I think that's right. Something along those lines. I've definitely seen them on socials, yeah.
Yeah, I've been seeing this cool silver token floating around on Bluesky, so just learned about that recently. So, you know, shout out back to your team, but like to hear about that. I think it's really cool when people start forming like more teams. I would like to see more like No, more teams across Flesh and Blood. More team tokens. Give me free tokens.
Yeah. I think like along those same lines is like just forming teams with your local testing group. Like that's what most teams actually are, and I feel like maybe I didn't recognize that right away when I was starting to form Crimson Haze with my local people, and that is like a lot of the teams. I didn't realize Ascent was more similar to how we are too. like most of us are more casually like testing together. Some of us don't live near each other anymore, and like we're not necessarily all grinding hard. I think there's that perception of the pro teams. It's like, but I think that's only like a handful of teams actually.
Yeah.
Well, do either of you have experience as solo competitors? Like, were you competing at higher levels without structured teams, I guess?
I've done it before in previous games. When I was like playing Magic the Gathering, I was more of a solo competitor. And yeah, it was a lot harder to like get a good grasp and get good practice reps in when I didn't have, like, this was during COVID, so all of it was on Arena and stuff, and so not having a testing team and being like so isolated in the game was really hard. And then early in my Flesh and Blood career, I went to Calling San Jose before I was like really ingrained in my local scene, and all of my testing was on Talishar, and I had like an 80% win rate on Icelander on Talishar, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do so good at this calling. And then like I super bombed that calling.
Oh no.
Happens.
So just like, yeah, like having a team is really helpful for like actually getting a real idea of where you're at and like getting good reps and stuff in.
Yeah. I have not really competed solo, but that's only because like my partner has always played the game. He's always been competitive. Like he's just good at like every kind of game he plays, basically. He's been competitive in like a bunch of other online game or like online card games. But this was like both of our first forays into like physical TCGs, and like I did compete without being, you know, he was on Team Ascent before I was. Like I was not like seriously competing, but like I also played like Calling San Jose was kind of like my first foray, like my first real foray into like the competitive scene, and then it wasn't, and then I think Nats in Vegas, was that 2 years? 2 years ago. I was also like not on a team at that point, but it was weird because I was like already hanging out with all the Ascent people because Brian was on Ascent. So like it was like yes and no. It was like, okay, I'm doing, you know, decently well at this calling, but I don't really have a team to like go to and be like, guys, I'm doing well, right? So I was just Brian. So it was like, man, I'm doing well, and be like, yeah.
That's the most important thing.
I think it's definitely, yeah, but it's definitely hard to like get more, like you rely on your armory and like in local scene a lot more, I think, to get reps. Most of my reps were coming from armories, and then I play at home with Ryan as well. Playing against one person isn't the same as playing against a variety of skill players.
For sure. Well, any predictions where the meta is heading?
That's
It's
such an open question. Do they mean just for London or like in general? In London, I think that we're gonna see maybe an uprise in Enigma. I think the wave has been starting to surge on Enigma's return, which if I'm playing Azalea, I feel good about. I love Enigma versus Azalea. What are you gonna do about my dominated Murkmire draft?
Right. I'd like to shed a few tears in response before it resolves.
I definitely agree. I think people, it's not like Enigma's ever been, but like she kind of had like a downtick in representation at the tournament recently, and I think that with this like a Florent Christian Logan list recently, like I think a lot more people have taken notice and just been like, oh hey, yeah, it is kind of good to just like stuff a bunch of D-reacts in Enigma's decks. Yeah, I think we're probably gonna see a resurgence. I think like one thing that's been interesting is that like we do have this threat of Zen possibly LLing before the Pro Tour. But the weird thing is I don't know that it actually matters much. I mean, like obviously it matters to the people that want to play Zen. Sorry, Robin. But like
Yeah, it's okay.
he's not like putting a lot of pressure on the meta right now, you know?
Yeah. I agree that he's not really putting... I've been thinking about it too a lot. Like, does the meta change if Zen leaves? I think not. I think maybe Aurora has one less bad matchup, which maybe like brings up the reason to play Aurora. And like, I want to make Zen states into you. Let me do this actually. I think if he LLs, there's also a good chance that like half of the Zen players go play Aurora, because some number of Zen players right now have been playing Zen since like his Broken Bonds of Ancestry days, and like Aurora is very similar levels of power, probably not as powerful as that, but like similar conceptually. So like I could see Aurora's representation going up if Zen LLs, but then realistically Zen isn't holding anyone out of the meta. I think the biggest meta shakeup happens sometime later this year when like New leaves the format. I think New has been holding back the most, specifically because you can't realistically build a Guardian deck that could beat New and Enigma, and so the second one of the two of them leaves, Guardian can start like showing up in the format again.
Makes a lot of sense.
I also think with the return of High Seas, we're seeing the return of Balance of Justice and Hold the Line, because all three of those heroes can draw cards.
True. I think, yeah, we'll have to see what High Seas brings us. We've definitely had some sets that weren't as impactful to the meta, and some sets that were. His Veil. So I think we'll just have to see where High Seas lands. I hope it's impactful, because I don't like. I think it's gonna be boring if we're stuck in the same meta probably. But I don't think we're gonna be stuck. We're gonna see some very interesting things. We're probably also maybe gonna see like become a real meta deck at some point. Maybe. I don't know if it's gonna be based on the Armory deck, but maybe you'll get some cards in High Seas. We'll see.
I'm a hater. I don't think that the max deck is it. I don't know if I want to construct my weapon in the middle of the game.
As an illusionist player, I do that all the time. It's my entire game plan. So with that being said, that was all the listener questions that we had. Real quick, who's gonna win, hero-wise? If you're so bold, who's gonna win player-wise? And which deck is gonna convert the best?
I think going into this event, this is probably one of the hardest times. Like, I completely predicted correctly that in LA, Dromai was going to win that Pro Tour. Like, I had a strong sense that that was going to be the hero to win. Going into this event, I think it's we're in like a weirdly open but closed meta, and I think like a few heroes are in contention for winning. And I have no idea player-wise. I feel like anyone could realistically win at this point.
Pick a hero. Go for it.
I'm just gonna go with Azalea, because it's gonna be me when Zen
You picked
LLs.
the player as well. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Mercy.
I think Aurora's gonna take this. I think like Aurora's had a weird absence of like first place finishes at large. I think
This is more realistic.
And I think there's just gonna be an overwhelming amount of Aurora. And so her chance is just really high. As for player who's gonna win, I would love to say myself, but the reality is that I think my partner Brian is unstoppable when he's on the best deck in the format, and he's on the best deck this time around. I won't say what that is. I'm not saying that's necessarily Aurora, and I'm not saying it isn't, but I think it would be him winning. I'll happily take second.
So as soon as we see what he's playing, we'll know what you think the best deck in the format is.
Yeah.
It'll be such a surprise.
A shock even.
Cash in Riptide, let's go.
Shock even. I like that.
For best conversion, it's like not gonna be Aurora though. I think like Aurora is the deck that like is like what I describe as like flavor of the week pickup. Like people are gonna pick it up because the Armory deck came out recently and everyone's on it as the best deck in the format going into the event. And so just by the fact that there's gonna be a bunch of them and not all of them will convert, Shield's gonna have like one of the lower conversion rates.
For sure.
I think
I could see Oh, I was gonna say, I could see like someone like new having a really high conversion rate because the people bringing new to this event really believe in new and are like really good at the deck and have been playing it
Yeah.
for a pretty long time.
Yeah. I could also see Florian's having a hike.
That's also true. Florian has had a really big uptick, and I know that Florian is pretty popular with the UK community right now.
I was gonna say, I'm going to guess the least popular between whichever illusionist is going to have the higher conversion.
To Prism.
Yeah, unless Prism for whatever
So
reason
Prism.
is way more popular, in which case the conversion rate will not be high and will be Enigma. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just too biased, but I feel like one of the illusionists might have the highest conversion rate.
Crazy.
Old.
Crazy that an illusionist go really well in the meta.
I don't know what you're talking about. Dromai had the lowest conversion rate at every event she's ever been in. This is like an actual fact. Dromai, like, even the events Dromai won, she had one of the worst conversion
Because
rates.
illusionists also have simps. And people will play them even when it's not correct.
That's true.
I say with the
That
prism
is
on my
true.
wall. Like,
Mm.
do you have a prediction on lane?
Oh wow. Conversion rate. I'm gonna say Ocilio.
Yeah, there might be one person that plays and one person that plays twos.
Yeah, just because of what happened at Brazil, Ocilio had a 100% conversion rate. The one Ocilio
Yeah.
converted.
If you're right, that's on me.
I'd like to see it again. I'd like to see that again.
See your mans do well.
That was funny. See my mans do well again. That was really funny. That was really exciting. I liked that. As far as actual predictions, I think like hero wise, the winner I would predict would be Aurora, but I also don't want Aurora to get any more LL points. So I'd love to see something else take it, but I do think it, like, prediction wise, I think it would be Aurora.
I'll go back in preference. If Zen doesn't LL this weekend, I think Zen has a real shot to win this Pro Tour, actually. I think it was weird for a few weeks we didn't see Zen in the top 8 of anything, and I really think this was like the Zen players being like, I really want the deck to make it to the Pro Tour, let's not play it. Because, yeah, I think he, like, the whole reason I picked up the deck for the event, if he's still legal, is I think he's really strongly positioned right now.
For sure.
Just watch. Well, I'll be wrong, and this will be the tournament where Dash finally LLs.
That would be so bittersweet for me. I was like,
We go around and each say every single hero so we can, like, edit it.
this is going out.
Edit it so we're all correct.
This is going out before the Pro Tour because we're actually on the bowl for once.
And no one's gonna record us. Like, if we just delete the video and re-upload it post Pro Tour, no one's gonna know.
Yeah, just gaslight the viewers.
Yeah, just gaslight them. It's like, oh, we'll just be like, oh, it's Mandela effect. I don't know.
Where did the 5 likes on this
That-
video go?
I'll make 5 YouTube accounts and like it 5 more times.
I realized I didn't say who I think was going to win. Sure, let's go with Enigma. I was gonna say Prism, but I think Enigma.
Okay.
I just
Alright.
feel it. I don't know why. With that being said, though, I believe that is everything. Do y'all have anything you want to shout out? You can plug your tokens again if you like.
Yeah, I'll plug my trends mark tokens again. If you're at London, come find me. My teammates will also have some they'll give out to their opponents throughout the day. These are great. I love them. This arc goes so hard, and maybe sneak peek if anyone has made it to this part of the video, there might be a giveaway soon for sleeves with a redesign of that because people asked for it on Bluesky.
I'm now people. I'm making myself people. Anyone else y'all want to shout out?
I'll also shout out my team again because they were really surprised when people knew who they were. So we're Crimson Haze. We do have
Oh.
jerseys. I'll be wearing mine on Saturday of the Pro Tour probably.
Very
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
Mercy?
I'll shout out my cat. She's gonna be, missing some playtime.
Oh.
Well,
Oh.
My cat is gonna be very sad when I'm gone for a week.
Well,
And my team. And my
This
team.
the cat takes. Wait, what was the team name again?
Ascent.
Ascent, right?
The first time you were making this joke, I really thought it was like a cent, like a penny, and then you went with the smell one. I was like,
Oh, I love that the cat takes priority though. Sorry, Team Ascent. Ascent.
Ascent. Please use the correct name. Wow.
Well, now that we have shouted everyone out, please plug yourselves. Where can the people who are listening find you and follow along with your Pro Tour London journey, assuming that you'll be posting updates? No pressure to post updates if you weren't planning on it.
yeah, you can find me at Robin Avenoso, at Bluesky, whatever the default Bluesky thing is. And on Discord, I'm Pink Robin in the Discords of many variety.
Can find me at merkittens.ascent-gaming.com on Bluesky. I will not be posting because I try to stay off my phone. But, we'll see. I occasionally post.
I might post tournament report. I haven't decided yet. I've done it for previous events, and sometimes I'll go into an event thinking I'll do it, and then I just forget to do it throughout the rounds, and so I'll just do one update at the end of the day or something.
As someone who never uses my social media, and yeah, so fair, no pressure. I never post really anything, so yeah. Kiki, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Bluesky at kikibird.bsky.social. Of course, you can also find... Wait, no, that's after your part. Go on.
My part. Oh, you can find me. Even though, like I said, I don't really post much. But you can find me at ehamontree at Bluesky. Ham on tree, like bacon on bush or pork on shrubbery. It's just 3 words.
And of course, you can find this podcast on Bluesky. That's at pitchperfectpod.bsky.social. Also, don't forget to check out the Rainbow Pitch Bluesky accounts. That's rainbowxpitch.bsky.social. Yeah, of course, if you're not already listening to us on Spotify, you can find us there if that's your fancy, or any other streaming service. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Smash that like button.
And leave a comment, I guess. I don't know. Tell us who's going to win. Just, yeah, tell us who's going to win. It's very simple.
What are your predictions?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay, well, thank you for listening.
It's been lovely to have you both. Great to talk to you. Great to chat with you. We wish you the best of luck going into the Pro Tour. We look forward to seeing how well you do and hearing about how much fun y'all have over in the UK. But until then, thank you all very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.